We need to talk about Crystal Kaiser because she is a woman who's in the news right now because she is going to prison for killing a man who sex trafficked her. Right? She's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and when she was 16, she met 33-year-old Randy Voller, a man who sexually abused her numerous times and on occasion filmed it. And according to Crystal, Randy also trafficked her to other men as well, plying her with drugs and driving her to a hotel to meet them and then taking their money. And with that, she then said he would give her expensive gifts and take her shopping in exchange. But in 2018, when Crystal was 17, she shot and killed Randy before burning down his house and fleeing in his BMW. According to court documents, she told detectives that she was tired of Randy touching her. And so she faced a slew of charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, arson, and car theft, and she was looking at a possible life sentence. With prosecutors arguing that this was a premeditated murder by Crystal to steal Randy's BMW. On the other side, you had her defense saying that she only killed Randy after he pinned her to the ground when she rebuffed his sexual advances. And so her attorneys argued that Crystal could not be held criminally liable under the 2008 law that absolves victims of sex trafficking from, quote, any offense committed as a direct result of being trafficked, known as an affirmative defense. So prosecutors said that there was no way that that law actually extends all the way up to homicide. But in 2022, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that affirmative defense would include homicide. And so Crystal's defense team could use it as an argument if they were able to present, quote, some evidence on which a reasonable jury could find that the defense applies. And this actually isn't uncommon. More than 30 states across the country have affirmative defense provisions that allow victims of sex trafficking to be acquitted of charges if they can prove that the crime was committed because of their abuse. However, how this played out this year is that Crystal agreed to plead guilty to the lesser charge of second-degree reckless homicide, and her other charges were dismissed. Though still, she maintains that Randy's death was a result of self-defense on her part. And it's also worth mentioning that earlier this year, Crystal did skip town when she was free on bond and spent 2 weeks on the run before being arrested in Louisiana. They're also being charged with misdemeanor disorderly conduct in a domestic violence case before that. But as far as the homicide case, Crystal was sentenced to 11 years in prison and 5 years extended supervision by Judge David Wilk yesterday. And while delivering this sentence, Wilk told Crystal that he was, quote, well aware of the nature of the relationship between her and Randy, but added, you are not permitted to be the instrument of his reckoning. To hold otherwise is to endorse a descent into lawlessness and chaos. And with that, saying she abandoned the affirmative defense that the Supreme Court allowed her when she took the plea deal, saying you entered a guilty plea. That allows you to argue your circumstances warrant mercy, but not that they warrant absolution. Now with that, Crystal won't be serving the full 11 years in prison. She was given a credit of 570 days for time served, and so she should be released in 2033 when she's in her mid-30s. But notably, with this, many advocates were disappointed with this sentencing, including Claudine O'Leary, a human trafficking survivor and founder of a consultancy group for victims of human trafficking, who said that Crystal's sentencing is evidence that courts don't embrace trauma-informed justice, telling the Washington Post too often these courts are looking for the perfect victim, and Crystal did not fit the image of what they thought a perfect victim would look like. And adding to the New York Times, there are men in southeastern Wisconsin walking around free today who paid for the ability to sexually abuse Crystal when she was a minor, and they never faced accountability. This is the kind of case that young people will remember. They'll say, they didn't believe Crystal, why should they believe me? So of course, with this, I'd really love to know your thoughts and where you stand on this.